Hello, everybody. This is one of the books that I'm featuring right now. It's Full Throttle: Riding with the Hell's Angels: The Life of Sonny Barger. I wrote this book last year. It's been very successful, very interesting. As you know, being a retired ATF agent with 26 years of federal law enforcement, I've dealt with all different kinds. Working a lot undercover. Obviously, my autobiography, ATF Undercover, deals with the cases I worked with: repeat violent offenders, gang members, armed drug dealers, international firearms traffickers, domestic firearms traffickers, armed home invaders, murder for hire cases, and so much more. I go into detail about that and also about my life. But I then became an author and writer and published over 75, 76 books now on Amazon, from true crime to politics. And I also have my YouTube channel, which I'm developing now, putting a lot of videos, political and also true crime, which is one of them. So this book here, I think, is pretty fascinating. The life of Sonny Barger. I didn't know. I knew something about him, obviously being with ATF, and I did more research and did a little more digging. And a lot of people think his rise in the Hells Angels, forming the Oakland chapter back in the '50s, his involvement with a lot of big, notorious other rivals against the Outlaws and the Pagans. And I do books also on those groups, the Mongols, the big battle between the Hells Angels and the Mongols, and other groups. And I even have a book on biker wars, which I'll go back in a second. You'll be able to see that on my Amazon author page. So if you go to Amazon author page, all my books are available on Amazon. I'm exclusively on Amazon. You can put in my name, Ignacio Esteban, and you can see it. Go to my links, Facebook page, LinkedIn, many ways to contact me and see all the books I have. One thing I found interesting about Sonny Barger was the case when he was being tried for homicide of a drug courier for over an $80,000 debt back in the '70s in California. It was a murder case looking at death penalty. He would be acquitted, but interesting enough, there was a sergeant from Oakland Police Department who testified, who said that Sonny Barger had been cooperating with them for years, providing them information on weapons and explosives, dealing with leftist organizations like the Black Panthers and other groups, reference what they were doing. So in exchange for cooperation and early release, possibly for Hells Angels that had been arrested. So I found that pretty interesting, that Sonny Barger was cooperating with law enforcement for years against different groups. I write about that, about his life, and of course the rivalry, and then what happens to him and his life, and then his successes he has. He also became a successful writer, and he also had he was a consultant for Sons of Anarchy, very popular show about 10 years ago on FX and other networks. So it's an interesting read if you don't know much about Sonny Barger. Talk about those things that caught my attention, and it's pretty interesting. I'll show you where you can find it. This is my Amazon author page. Just type in my name. You see all the books. Just recently had The Rise of a Narco Empire, CJ&G. I had it for free, available for those. And all my books are free for Kindle Unlimited subscribers. And from all that, also involved with audiobooks that have come out. ATF Undercover is now available on Audible, and same with The Most Dangerous Crime Syndicates of Our Time. Infamous LA Murders, LA Gang Wars. This book's also done popular, the worst mass shootings in American history and how to stop them from happening again. We've been having, unfortunately, it does not stop with the mass shootings in this country, the violence, and different solutions to try to deal with it, coping with it. As an ATF agent, I respond to some of these in Parkland, and also just researching these. And you have to be able to do something prepared when things are happening. Not having firearms, making it harder for us to have weapons is not the solution. I think fortification is the way, either at the schools and public locations, but banning weapons like Gavin Newsom, making it harder for people to get their firearms, not honoring concealed weapons permits where they should be, just empowers the criminals. When you empower the criminals, they know they don't follow laws, they're going to keep on doing what they have to do. Or if you have mental health issues, forget it. They don't understand that, and they won't do it. And unfortunately, we see a crisis with mental health in this country. So interesting topics there. Miami's history with the mafia, Scientology, MS-13, Mala Salvatrucha, some think the most dangerous street gang in this country. Very violent, ruthless. Some think they have satanic origins and traditions and rituals. They're absolutely ruthless and bloodthirsty. You know, with the mafia, there's always a reason why they did something. Sometimes with these guys, they do it because they want to do it. They want to have a higher body count, like some of these street gangs. They don't care. They don't care if they kill someone, a couple for no reason. It's just because they can. Very dangerous group that's in our country and thriving, Psycho killers. If you're into serial killers, I talk about the Bundys, the Dahmers, the Gacy's, H.H. Holmes, international, not just U.S., but internationally also, and going and around the world. Pedro Lopez, who some think is the monster of the Andes, who might even still be alive, and that he had killed over 300 indigenous children and counting. Horrible situation there. So different serial killers to talk about in this book. Something to look into there also. RFK Jr. Now he's announced that he was going to be running as an independent, leaving the Democratic Party. The son of Bobby Kennedy. He's the nephew of Jack Kennedy, the former president who was assassinated. Both his father and uncle were assassinated. And now he is running as an independent, leaving the Democratic Party because the system was, as in his words, rigged against him by the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, who did not want him campaigning in Iowa or New Hampshire to get delegates, to get votes. And he realized that it is rigged. They have already selected Biden no matter what, and that was their guy. So he's going to be running as independent. And history has shown, and I put it in my book there, that any strong third-party candidate, the incumbent, has never won. Anderson did it to Carter, Perot did it to Bush, and now RFK Jr. will do it to Joe Biden. And in my book there, Joe Biden, based on his policies and his failures, and I agree with his mental health issues and other, he has problems, he'll be a one-term president, one and done. Again, with the biker books, the One Percenters, the Outlaws, talking about Taco Bowman, infamous outlaw biker. The book I was talking about, Sonny Barger. If you like Italian Mafia, the breakdown of Chicago crime bosses, and also politics, the rise and fall of Muammar Gaddafi. A figure that was his own demise by his own people at the end, after being a brutal dictator. He got street justice at the end. If you have not seen the video of Gaddafi's death out there in Libya, take a look at that. His final moments are, and he's an absolute terror when he gets killed by his own people. Like I said, over 75 books, 76 books to be exact. Then I've also talked about my background with ATF. ATF, Mexico, and the drug cartels, the reality of Operation Fast and Furious, bonehead operation that led to a lot of guns going to Mexico to unfortunate cartel members that were used against civilians, military, and law enforcement. Obviously, that shouldn't have happened. That was over 10 years ago. A congressional inquiry showed it, and many people in ATF lost their jobs, and even the United States Attorney of Arizona was fired because of it. The SAC out of Arizona for ATF, Phoenix Division, was demoted all the way to a public information officer. That's how serious of a miscalculation there was here. People have learned their lessons. You have to stop the weapons from going down south, but we also have to do something about the drugs coming to our country. And it has to be with treatment, because if people weren't using the drugs wouldn't be coming here. So we have to work with treatment. We have to work stopping the cartels, because right now with this current administration, with Lopez Obrador, his policies, he's soft with cartel leadership. Hugs for thugs won't work, and the violence is as high as ever been in Mexico. The violence is extremely high with Sinaloa, CJ&G, Gulf Cartel, and others. And they keep on getting stronger because of the corruption that unfortunately exists. Like I said, we don't have an equal part in the war on drugs. The cartels are thriving while people here, a fentanyl crisis in our country is enormous. We have to do more about it, treatment, and dealing with these cartels. And the election will be coming up. We'll see if there'll be new leadership there, or will be more of the same. The Mongol Nation, the fall of Doc Cavazos. Fascinating story with Cavazos and his ties with the Mongols and street and Sureños, ties with Mexican Mafia. and his rise in the ranks and his fall, and Operation ATF Operation Black Rain, and what came out of that, and the rivalry between the Mongols and the Hells Angels and others. So interesting read there if you don't know much about him and what's currently going on with the Mongol nation today. Again, my autobiography, ATF Undercover, I talked about it. I also have it on Audible. It's been doing really well. Check it out. All my books, again, are free for Kindle Unlimited subscribers. The Audible books, very good. I had a voice actor, Sean Milo, do it. Did a great job on it, just like with the most dangerous crime syndicates of our time. And I'm planning to do other books also on Audible. So check it out. Again, it's my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly of ATF. What the case, not just about the case I've worked, but also what I have done in my life and personally, and also solutions to some of the issues we have today with firearms trafficking, gun violence, mass shooters, and just ideas that could help and fortify and make things a little tougher against some of these violent criminals. Biker wars, talking about some of the most infamous biker battles between some of these one percenter groups and their Hells Angels and Mongols, of course. You have the pagans and the Hells Angels and the outlaws. You have the banditos, and you have the vagos, and many others. So I talk about some of those infamous battles out there, and pretty interesting read there. I do fiction again, winning Wimbledon against all odds. With my background, I also was a collegiate athlete, played #1 for my university and high school. I was also a teaching pro before I got involved into law enforcement. So I have a strong background in tennis, a very detailed read about tennis and the sport, and about a young American who becomes the first qualifier to ever win Wimbledon. Fascinating read there. I think it'll be a fun novel for those who, especially sports enthusiasts, they'll love to read about this book. The One Percenters again, McVeigh, the face of domestic terrorism, the horrors he committed in Oklahoma, and using the truck bomb to kill those innocent children at the nursery, at the daycare, calling collateral damage. A monster, was executed in June 2001, rightfully so. But he was also a veteran of the United States Army, and a Persian Gulf War veteran, decorated war veteran, turned to be a big monster with Terry Nichols, who's doing life, and others who were involved. Read the book, good read there. Yakuza, Japanese Mafia. Again, these are mostly short books. My autobiography and some other ones are longer. Some are about 300-400 pages. Good reads. Also, if you're interested in these cults, Drinking the Kool-Aid, Jim Jones and His Crazy Suicidal Revolution. Those who don't know what happened with Jim Jones in Jonestown in November of '78, probably the worst, I call them mass killings, not suicide, because they were pretty much forced to drink the Kool-Aid, which was laced cyanide, flavored cyanide, to kill these people because of his madness. And once he killed the Congressman Leo Ryan, had him assassinated by his goon squad, he knew it was all over. And then the horrors that came. If you haven't seen the videos from there, check out what happened in Guyana, the horrors that happened in Guyana. Again, there's a lot of books here, folks, a lot of books from Bryce. You don't know much about a topic. I think my books are an excellent way to find something out. Like, you don't know a lot about Jim Jones. I think he's a good way to start reading my book and have a good bibliography, what details my sources, and you can read more and do deeper dives into a lot of this here. Like I said here, with the Italian Mafia, I pretty much say it's the fall of the Italian Mafia, the American Italian Mafia, and the rise of the Mexican cartels. The Mafia is pretty much nothing what they used to be, but the cartels are only getting stronger because of the corruption down south in Mexico that feeds into it, and it can't be held accountable, unlike here in the United States with racketeering cases that devastated the Mafia, and a lot of these one percenter groups are here we can put hands on. It's harder. It's harder to bring El Chapo up here. Emencho Cervantes from CJ&G is the most wanted drug lord in the United States and Mexico, with a bounty of over $10 million. And he's hiding somewhere in Guadalajara or somewhere in Jalisco region. A little different than Escobar and El Chapo Guzman. This guy hides a lot, prior law enforcement, dirty, corrupt, an assassin, a murderer. And what these guys do, they kill. They become very good killers. So again, talking about the worst killers and tyrants of the century, talking about the most dangerous crime syndicates, absolutely. That book's on Audible right now. It's a 7-hour listen. Enjoy that one. Also do sports athletes, a tragic death of a great champion, Hector Macho Camacho. And again, going back to drugs, consuming him in his life. At the end, he was gunned down in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. Tragic ending for his life. A great champion, and tragic how drugs can destroy anybody, regardless of where you are and where he came from. Spanish Harlem, rose to greatness, and at the end, drugs ended his life. American Mafia. I also do very good picture books too. These are all personal travels I have done myself, my family. I also like hiking. This fall in Virginia is gorgeous out here with the foliage. I did that book. Great hiking trails out here. Amazing views out of the Capitol. There's the summit there in Shenandoah. Beautiful, beautiful old rag. Also talk about who killed Jimmy Hoffa. Amazing that never found the remains of Hoffa. Where could he be? Oh, so many theories. Where could it end up, from bodies of water to buried in under Giant Stadium? Who knows where Hoffa's body is? I don't think we'll ever find out the remains and who actually killed Hoffa. The Beltway Killers. This is another one here. This was when I was out there in 3 weeks in October in 2002 with Muhammad and Mavo, tracking them down. We were chasing an elusive white cargo box truck, and ended up being these guys in their sedan in a sniper's nest, executing people randomly. And that would starting a nationwide killing in February of that year from Tacoma, Washington, all the way to the Beltway. So a lot of good stuff in here, personal stories I tell. Again, and this was the coin that was presented to me after the detail that I worked from the director at the time, Buckles, about it, the Beltway sniper investigation. It was very harrowing, tragic death. Muhammad was executed. His name was John Williams, also prior military. He was in the Louisiana National Guard. Disgraced, had the training, and he turns against his own people. He gets executed a few years later in Virginia, while Malvo is doing life in prison. He was underage at the time, so that's why the Supreme Court said he could not be executed. Again, El Chapo Guzman, from poverty to drug lord, and where is he now? He's in Florence, Colorado, in the Supermax, in that tiny, tiny prison, being watched, being one of the most powerful men in Mexico or in the region as a drug lord, and now he's here in the United States because unfortunately the Mexican government could not control him. Not only did he escape once, twice, but 3 times, and even had Sean Penn and Kate DeCastillo for Rolling Stone magazine interview him in the mountains up there in Sinaloa. An unbelievable story of this guy. And he even brags, you have not seen that interview with Sean Penn about his life and how many people, how much money. He said he sold more drugs than Escobar. He's probably sold more drugs than any man in history. Well, I know one thing, he's not doing that now, and his whole family is going to be incarcerated with him. And hopefully El Mencho will be next. Also talk about the rivalry within the Department of Justice. ATF came over to DOJ in 2003 after the horrible attacks of 9/11 by terrorist groups, and some of the stuff that happens within politics and also cases. So I give some pretty interesting examples of that. That's something you're interested in reading. Personal stories, interesting picture books again, LA Mobsters, Jack Dragna, and then have here Las Vegas Mob City. Again, also a lot of politics. Joe Biden, one and done. I wrote this book last year after the debacle of Afghanistan and the withdrawal and the 13 military service personnel getting killed and slaughtered by Taliban bombings. They should never have Taliban doing security there. That was disgraceful, a big mistake. And 20 years pretty much flushed down with the Taliban taking over. Things should have been worked out better, at least keeping the region with the Taliban out of that area in Kabul and with the airport disastrous. And of course, his failed policies from from A to Z. It's been horrible. I also talked about blood, money, and oil, the corrupt Saudi regime of Mohammed bin Salman, the big issues we've had with him, and of course the horrible murder of Jamal Khashoggi and other dissidents in his country. If you haven't seen that, look at the video. I talk about that in my book. He was in a Turkish embassy in October of 2018, and he was pretty much dismembered and killed because he was a critic of MBS. Many critics in this country, you're free to talk and criticize like I do against the current president. You can vote. Other countries are very sensitive. They don't want to hear that. It's our way or the highway, or as they do, it's my way or the sword, and beheadings. And that's how they execute their people, with beheadings. And last year they had over 80-some people beheaded in one day. Most of them dissidents or ethnic minorities. Big problems out there. And yet they want to expand and do businesses with the United States. They don't hold a moral compass, and we should not be buying our oil or doing business with countries like this. That's for sure. And I put Nigeria as a failed state, absolutely, with the coup and everything going on in Nigeria and terrorist groups, an absolute failed state, another country we should not be getting our oil. We have to be energy independent, not relying on these rogue nations or dictatorships. Here's another one here between these two. These three, actually. These are doozies. Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, and Nicolas Maduro. All these three are dictators, communists, all one and the same. This is a perfect picture right here. All of them will kill and do anything to any dissidents or anyone who opposes them. All three are illegitimate. They should not be in power. Nicolas Maduro is a narco. He's an indicted narco-terrorist dictator. He's illegitimate. And yet, the Biden administration wants them a lifeline with Chevron and start getting oil from Venezuela. Disgraceful. Joe Biden has only made horrible, his administration, mistakes. He should be like another Noriega, major operations, and return to the United States and tried. Just like it was the former president of Honduras, Hernandez, was brought over. He should do the same. These are narco-terrorists who are dealing with different groups that used to be known as the FARC, using Colombian cocaine to weaponize against the United States to see if we can fall like a rotten apple. They know there's a weakness here, and they're trying to exploit it. Same as Xi Jinping. He himself is another brutal dictator, committing genocide there with ethnic Muslims in northwest China, freedom lovers in Hong Kong and other places in China, and of course Tibetans illegally occupying Tibet, and what they're doing to those poor people. Ethnic cleansing all over. It's just a Hmong ethnic group, and everyone else has to be perished and put away. It's our way and the highway, no diversity. But they insist, of course, that we are, but they do not. And Little Rocket Man himself, one day one of these little rockets is going to cause a big problem, and it's going to cost him everything. Maybe one of the neighbors, Japan, maybe us, United States. He's playing with fire, and it's going to cost him dearly. Of course, the war has been going on almost 2 years now in Ukraine. Ukrainians fighting for their freedom, and the Russians and Putin. This is really Putin's war. I don't want to say Russians. Maybe there are a few Russians that support it, but this is a horrific man, Vladimir Putin, who has turned to be such a monster, another Hitler, ethnic cleansing pretty much, an indicted war criminal by The Hague and ICC, International Criminal Court. Hopefully one day he'll see his end quickly. He likes to kill his dissidents. Anybody who opposes him, reporters. I document that if you're a reporter, you work for any news agencies, and you're a critic of him, things don't end up well for you. And if there's an open window, be careful, because at times a lot of people end up slipping through the window, case after case. He's a horrific individual that's only caused problems around the world. People are fighting for their freedom in Ukraine, and the United States needs to assist them. If not, be bigger problems for NATO and the U.S. down the road. If Ukraine falls, there'll be bigger problems for us down the road for sure. Merchants of death, again, Mexican cartels, vicious, ruthless, and bloodthirsty. The crime syndicates of Mexico, absolutely out of control with the violence there in Mexico. And Lopez Obrador looking the other way, hugs for thugs, does not work. Does not work. And his insisting on one of his generals, Cienfuegos, that was indicted in Los Angeles to be returned on money laundering charges, is disgraceful. He's a corrupt, disgraceful president of Mexico. And I fear there will be another socialist come right behind him. That Mexico is a failed narco state. We may be similar to what's going on in South America with Venezuela. Prison gang killers, if you're interested in that also, with different gangs, Mexican Mafia, Aryan Brotherhood, many groups in there I talk about. Again, One Percenters is the original book I wrote about violent biker gangs. The Most Dangerous Crime Families in America. Again, Putin's Tyranny. And this book here I enjoy. It's his paintings from my grandfather. He loved to do oil paintings. He himself had come from Cuba with his family. They lost everything. The country accepted him, and he retired here. He himself was a politician, very anti-Castro, very anti-communist. He saw firsthand the horrors when you lose everything, when they get nationalized, what's going on in Venezuela and parts of Latin America, and what's happening around the world, especially with the Chinese. That's what the communists do. They want to nationalize and take from the rich and give to the poor, but it's hard-earned, and that's called stealing. That's called stealing, and that's what they are, thieves that keep for themselves, and then they become the richest people. So interesting paintings there, beautiful paintings. He had a passion for oil paintings, and I remember as a young boy watching him sell his paintings at art shows around the Hollandale, Hollywood area, so in Florida. So beautiful oil paintings if you enjoy that. Again, more picture books, places I've traveled: Washington, D.C., New York City, the great state of Virginia, Niagara Falls. If you haven't a chance to go to Niagara Falls, definitely check out Niagara Falls. Definitely worth it. I think it's one of the natural wonders of the world. Las Vegas, Chicago, South Dakota, the Badlands, Black Hill Mountains, and of course you have to see Mount Rushmore. You gotta go see Mount Rushmore. If you're out there, you might as well make a little trip to Wyoming and see Devil's Tower also. And also wrote a few books with my daughter last year. Best Snow Day Ever, My Day at the Fair, big dancer she is, The Princess and the Ballerina, loves dancing, How the Pegasus Saved Christmas, and the books that I started with, The Evil Empire, Communist China, why the communists should never, never host another Olympic Games again. Disgraceful with the IOC for having them host the Olympics. Second one, first city to ever host a Winter and Summer Games, Beijing, with the level of corruption, with the level of human rights abuses, and what they do. It just tells me the IOC was paid off, because no one in the right mind will reward such a prestigious event to such a horrific nation like China, what they do to their people. Absolute genocide going on in China and human rights abuses. So if you're definitely not Hmong and you don't support the CCP, you have pretty much three options: either kill you, incarcerate you, or get rid of you. So not places to be. So again, a total of 76 books and counting, quite a few. I've been working on this for about a year and a half. I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed talking about it. I enjoy doing a lot of shows. I have done over hundreds of shows now on YouTube, on Rumble, internationally, out of Australia, out of Britain, and working with people around the world on different concepts and stuff. And I will be working with a History Channel with a producer from the Canadians on Gangland Chronicles. They'll be coming out shortly. I look forward to that. They enjoy reading my books and my background, talking about my experiences, what I've seen and what I know. All right, folks. So again, if you're interested, you can find my information here on Amazon. You can look it up here on my author page. Just type in my name there, Ignacio Esteban. You can see all the books out here and all the popularity and what I've written. Quite a few to choose from, and also on Audible. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Until next time.